Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, I am going to have fun with this stencil today and create some cards for you focused around this stencil in particular. This is the Swatches stencil, and I am going to start off by putting this directly onto a card base. Now, the cards that I am creating today are sort of geared towards men's cards or boys' cards because that's what I am short of in my stash. However, of course, by changing up the colours simply, then you are going to be able to create these for any occasion and for any person. So I'm starting off by using some mint tape to mask off the edges. This is actually reused mint tape, but nonetheless it's going to work perfectly. I just reuse my pieces over and over again. Often I feel for videos that I should have nice pieces, but you guys know me, I'm going to use these and get good value for money. So today I'm going to be reusing them. I am using some Colours of Distress Oxide ink. Now I got out these 3 colours and I was anticipating using all 3, but actually all I end up doing is using some vintage photo. Now I have got a piece of paper over to the right hand side of me that I actually just got rid of lots of the ink off that finger dauber because I just want a really light coating and kind of splotchy, but you'll see once I add a little bit more ink that it definitely evens out. Now I end up taking this grey here, I don't put any more ink on it, and then I also end up taking, I think it's the finger dauber that I used some cracked pistachio on last, so I'm going to pick that one up here, and then I end up adding a little bit of that over top of all of this, which I wasn't anticipating using a sort of bluey green, but I think it just breaks it up a little bit and blends it. Now there is barely any ink on the finger dauber to begin with. It's just changing the colour away from being quite so full of neutrals. Now I'm just going to create a sort of background here, so to speak. This is just going to be made up of all sorts of different stamps that I have handy. I am going to be using pretty much the Hickory Smoke ink to stamp though, just because it's a light grey ink, it's not black, it's not going to overtake my main image. So first of all, I'm starting off with a few text stamps. This is one from Holtz, and I mean anything. This can be created using any stamps, any background stamps, any, you could even do some pressings of stencils. You can use some household objects to get these sort of prints and patterns, but I do like this text one, and I haven't used it a whole lot, but it definitely sits in front of me. I use these more when I'm doing sort of mixed media, and I guess this is a little bit of that. It's not really mixed media, but it has that kind of feel to it. Next up is this gorgeous little postmark stamp. I love this one. Creative Expressions have come out with lots of these little images, little butterflies, little postmarks, little greetings, little sentiments, and I just like that because it means the price point is really low, and if you like the image, you're purchasing just that image essentially, not a whole stamp set that has some that you may like and some that you may not. Anyhow, I am moving on to, because I'm creating a couple of cards today, so we're going fast, but this is the Happy Birthday rub-on transfers from scrapbook.com. I have a gorgeous big happy birthday there. This is black at the moment, and I feel like this card at the moment is not going, I think it's going to get better. I promise you it's going to get better. You know how sometimes you look at your own work and you second guess it and you wonder, but I actually like this card when it came out. I think a couple of little extra features made this card really stand out. So we've got this sentiment, and I managed to transfer it pretty good. I lost a little bit of the H up there on the happy, so just all you have to do is pop it right back down again, line it up, and then go back, and you can't even see the join or anything. That's one of the things that I love about using rub-ons. And then once I start taking away the masking around it, you start to see the crisp white background, and I really love that. However, it feels a little bit too clean and simple for me. And again, that's just a personal preference. You could do this, I mean, rainbow. Imagine doing this in rainbow. You could do this with bright, beautiful stencils. In fact, that's a whole nother video that could happen. I love this stencil because I feel like it's really versatile. Now I'm going to use those same pieces of mint tape again and go around the border, and I'm going to create a border. Now this, I did have this sort of messy squiggly lines that I like to do as a border. This is what I call my straight squiggly lines. So I like to have the first line, I like to kind of have a crisp outer edge and then kind of squiggly on the inside from there. So you'll notice I've been doing this a bit recently. I'm definitely enjoying it, and for the first line around the outside I just rely on the mint tape, or you could use a ruler for this too. You could hold your ruler in place, and then I do squiggly lines heading inwards from there. So I just do a few on purpose squiggly lines, which, let's be honest, is not hard to do, and it makes us look like actually it became an actual frame and it was meant to be all along. So I love this nice simple clean frame, and then that is going to finish off this card. And my favorite thing is this card from start to finish took me less than 10 minutes, including getting out everything. I had a rough idea of where I wanted to go with it, so it was really easy to create. And sometimes it's okay to create those cards too. Now we are going to be taking the same stencil again, and I'm going to kind of tape this one in place. I was wondering how I wanted to do it and how I could kind of get the most squares or rectangles out of this on my card front. So I'm actually going to shift it up and get these 3, because obviously there is sort of 4 different sized little rectangles on there, and of course lots of different sentiments are going to fit perfectly in those, and you could just make an entire card front just using the stencil straight up as it is, but I for this one am going to use the some Distress Oxides. This one is tumbled glass, and I just do a light covering of it. These are the Fancy Frames stencil from Forte, and then I'm going to just use this to add some texture over top. So the exact same color, I'm coming in with just a heavier version, and it doesn't have to be perfection either. Then I'm coming in with some Uncharted Mariner, and I'm just coming in with a really light layer, and then I come back in with the same stencil. I really like that stencil design, but I don't want the heart, so I am just going to kind of get the position where you can not tell it's a heart, but I like the stencil design in the middle. And then again, just a heavier application, and that's the next one. And then I just keep going. I just keep adding colors, and then I just go through my stencil stash and find a few different stencils that are going to work. These are pretty plain and simple stencils, some of them. Just even the dots looks fabulous, and I'm going with a bluesy, greensy kind of colors for this one. And again, this card is nothing crazy, nothing insane, but really fun to create. You could go through and create a batch of these. You could do them in all the different colors. You could add different sentiments, and then that would create a nice gift set. I mean, this is just a really easy stencil to be able to use in lots of different ways. Now this one is the mixed stripe stencil from scrapbook.com. I have used this one in a few videos, but this one's fun because of course not only do you use the stripes, but then you turn it the other way and you're going to make a sort of plaid background. So I just do a light layer underneath and then come back in with a little bit heavier application. And this is the cracked pistachio color. And this obviously can be done with any inks at all that you have in your stash. It certainly doesn't have to be oxides. It can be dye inks, it can be pigment inks, it could be metallic inks, it could even be like watercolors if you wanted to do a light layer of watercolor over top, and then you could even doodle instead of using the stencils. You could do some doodling or some Zentangles or anything like that. Lots of different things that you can do for this kind of card, just using the stencil as a bit of a base. Now, if you are interested in these supplies in this video, as usual, it will be linked below. I also have my snail mail address if you'd like to send me a card in the mail. I love going to get my mail from my P.O Box. That is definitely the highlight of my week, so I appreciate the time and effort that it takes to get a card in the mail these days. I don't know about where you live, but there certainly isn't as many post boxes around here where I live as there used to be. It felt like I used to be able to walk to one, and now it's probably a driving situation, but that's okay. It still is really lovely to receive a card and know the time and effort that you've put into them, so I appreciate that. Also down below I have a link to my Buy Me a Coffee in case you would like to support my channel and the videos that I release here. I try and release at least 3 if not more a week, so that keeps you busy and keeps you hopefully inspired with some ideas. So go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you like these videos, and if you would like to get the notifications for them, make sure you've got the notification bell on. Once I am going to finish off this card here, I did just find a scrap circle that I had already pre-die cut, so I'm going to use this one up. I had I think this is called made for you by Woodware. And as you will know, if you've watched my channel, I do love the Woodware stamps. They are such good quality, they have such good price points. So they've definitely done me well over the years that I have been using them. I have this happy birthday stamp here, which instead of side by side, I'm actually going to stack it just because that works a little bit better for the circle shape that I've gone with. I'm stamping it in some VersaFine Onyx black ink, and then sticking with the wibbly squiggly lines, I am going to take a little fine liner and go around the sentiment. This is just really clean and simple. It's instead of me stacking some dies behind this. And then of course to match, I'm going to do some of those squiggly lines around the border of my card, keeping everything super simple. For this one, I did decide that it needed a little bit extra, so I will add some sequins later on. But as I said, still, I think this is perfect for some boys or men. I often get asked how I decide what kind of cards I'm going to make, or you know, what kind of sentiments I'm going to be using, but pretty much it's always dictated by what my friends or family say I'm running low of in my card stash, because I have a stash here at my house and friends and family just know that they are welcome to it and they help themselves. They usually grab a bundle of them, and just so that they can send them out when they're ready, and they like to have a little stash at their houses, and they say, you know, you're running short of this, or I couldn't find any of these ones and I've been looking for them, and then that's usually what I end up making. I usually end up making them to fill some of the gaps. So here is where I'm going to add on a couple of these sequins. I got out a couple of different color blues, but I think these lighter ones go just fine. I'm using a very cheap and cheerful wax pencil. These are fantastic. I think they're meant for putting you know, decorations on your nails or elements onto your nail for nail art, but they work perfectly in card making for picking up little gems or sequins and things like that. And I think these are around 50 cents or so each, so a really good price. Now, that is my cards for today. I hope you've enjoyed this. I really enjoyed playing around with the swatch stencil, and I hope this has given you some ideas. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye.